off this pasta with the first stories, the Seinfeld Lost episode, and we'll talk about the sequel in a little bit. But for right now, let's talk about opposite the first one. The first one is complete garbage. That's easily without that can go without saying, because it mentions 9/11, it mentions about the swine flu near the end, it mentions about filming this back in '95, even though 9/11 obviously happened 6 or 7 years later. Pretty much everything about it is complete bulldonkey, or whatever. It kind of reminds me of Dead Bard, in which you have the characters dying, and they're predicting things in the future, or something like that. And there's other pastas that did that, like Happy After, the whole 9/11 shtick, even though that was only briefly. But still, I mean, this whole story is a bunch of crap. That can go without saying. I never really watched Seinfeld, to be honest. I mean, I watched it here and there, but never fully watched it. But I doubt that Larry David will go out of his way to just make an episode like this. This is a creepypasta that was originally posted on 4chan's Export. It's about a Seinfeld Lost episode titled The Mason. There's a story about a lost episode of Seinfeld floating around the internet. The episode was supposed to air around season 6, but it was mysteriously cut. The official story about the episode was that it featured Ellen purchasing a firearm after being mugged. But many elements about this episode were never revealed until recently. NBC executives refused to officially report on the episode until the Seinfeld Season 6 DVD commentary. I have the tape, but as someone who works within NBC, unfortunately I can't reveal my sources. I work at the GE building in Rockefeller Plaza, and I have access to the digital archives. That's as much as I can divulge. We also have the entire original Seinfeld series in multiple formats, including original reels and VHS tapes. I noticed an episode with the production code 607 was missing from the tape set, and it was relocated in a set of old newsreels. The replacement episode, The Mom and Pop Store, was filmed in a season later to replace the missing episode. It is oddly titled The Mason. The episode starts out as normal, with Jerry's apartment, but the camera is much more steady. Jerry walks out as though he's been drugged and remarks that all of his family and friends have been dying lately. His buzzer rings and it's George. George runs up, half crying, and tells Jerry he's seen something terrible. He's mumbling and stuttering for about 5 minutes until he can form a sentence. There are still pauses for humor, but there is no audience or laugh track. George informs Jerry that planes have crashed into the Twin Towers due to a terrorist attack on New York. Jerry turns on the news, and you can see modern footage of the 9/11 attacks, all pre-filmed several years beforehand. George says that isn't the worst part. Ellen and Kramer were in the towers at the time of the bombing. What precedes is a graphic and explicit phone call screaming and crying, and Kramer saying that something terrible has happened, and Ellen is dead. Kramer screams that there is no air in the building, and he's burning to death, and that he's going to jump. The camera cuts to live footage of a man falling from the Twin Towers. George genuinely looks upset, and says,
"I'm sorry, Larry, but I can't go through with this."
And he tries to walk off set, but people stop him and push him towards the stage. He walks out Jerry's prop window, and you can hear him calling his agent. There's a lot of mumbling, and you can see candles being lit behind the stage. Jerry goes over to the bookcase and pulls it aside, revealing a ceremonial black table with candles, a dinner plate, and a strange box. There is a Masonic symbol against black cloth just outside where the fake stage window would be. Jerry says some weird things in foreign dialect, and one cut of the camera shows a poster of Barack Obama. Keep in mind, this episode would have originally aired in 1995. The scene ends with Jerry waking up in bed, as though it's all a nightmare. Kramer comes in and asks if Jerry has seen a lizard. Jerry laughs and says,
"We are all lizards."
and the camera zooms slightly. His eyes become silvered, like almonds. The tape is only 7 minutes long, and what precedes is just 20 minutes of dead air. If you continue watching to the end, it seems there are 3 more news reports tacked on. The first is about an outbreak of swine flu, the second about a train bombing, and the third. Now we're at the second part of the story, and it's just as bad as the first. And this story, I'm not even sure it's made by the same person, like written by the same person. Here, it's apparently another lost episode that was made back in season 2, and in this story, it's really weird. It just has Jerry and George mostly sitting on a couch staring at the audience. One is freaking out or feeling sick, the other one's going crazy, saying, "Oh, no one in, no one in." We don't know what it means. They look a little bit weird. They still look like themselves apparently in the story, but they look a little off. And it makes you wonder why would they make something like this if they're gonna destroy it anyway. As the story later clarifies. Yeah, I don't get these 2 stories really. This is stupid. I mean, if you saw my shitpasta story, that Bill Nye Explosion AVI story, that actually made more sense than these 2 stories. It really did. You know, these 2 stories, I can't explain it. They're just completely full of shit. I think that's the best way to describe this. Supposedly, it was this episode that was supposed to air sometime in mid-season 2, but they pulled it from the schedule abruptly. They've actually been very good about keeping this a secret. It can't seem to be found anywhere online, and there's hardly any physical record of its existence. But I have a buddy who used to work over at NBC and was very close with Larry David. He was around during the supposed filming of the episode. He recalled Larry suddenly acting strangely during this time. Apparently, he was far more paranoid than usual and allowed no one in the studio other than himself, Jerry, and Jason Alexander. Neither Ellen nor Kramer were even in this episode. My friend got an early cut from one of the cameramen and was able to watch it before the tape could be destroyed. Now, he only watched it once before NBC got to it, but this is what he could tell me.
When it starts out, there's no opening with Jerry doing stand-up. It just goes right to the apartment. This may be because my friend saw an early cut, but the picture quality is a little worse than usual, and the sound doesn't quite sync up right. Jerry is in his kitchen making a sandwich, and while he looks normal, there's something off about him. All my friend could tell me was that when you look at him, he seems human, but foreign somehow, especially with his eyes. After a few minutes, George rings the doorbell. He comes in and starts complaining about something, although the audio is so low that you could barely hear him. He's white as a sheet and looks more distressed than usual, like something is seriously wrong. This goes on for a few minutes, and after a while, he's just babbling incoherently before the picture cuts out. The next act is just Jerry and George sitting on the couch, but it's no longer in color. This time, they both look foreign, not just Jerry, and they're staring off blankly into space. They start talking with the same low audio quality, but now it's impossible to hear because the opening bass riff comes in subtly and just starts looping, making it so you can't hear anything else. But Jerry seems to be in pain, and George is starting to sob. Apparently, my buddy could just make out George saying something like,
"Don't let it through. Don't let it come in,"
over and over again. This just repeats until the episode ends. All the while, the bass riff is getting more and more distorted. After a few minutes, it just abruptly cuts to some super high frequency square wave.
I guess this made my friend nauseous, so he left the bathroom to vomit, but came back as fast as he could so he wouldn't miss much. Since it was close to the 22-minute mark already, the episode had ended, but he caught a glimpse of the last image before the credits. Just a still black and white extreme close-up of Jerry's face. There was some very small text superimposed, but it just seemed like the end of a larger portion of text, since the words just said, "Then it will be too late." I guess my friend tried to take the tape with him, but an NBC executive confiscated and destroyed it before you can leave the building.